Well, welcome today to another exciting program of Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Fann, the preacher man, and Shannon E. Jones. And where Shannon is, I don't know, but I'm sure he'll be showing up sooner or later. It's a rainy night in Georgia, a rainy day in Georgia. He may be stuck in traffic, but it's all good. This program is a program designed with you in mind. Of course, if you'd like to be a guest on the program, all you got to do is email us or call 44308-0795, and you can email that fan922@comcast.net. We'd love to have you as a guest on the program. Program last week, very interesting program. Got so many comments about the program last week. What's going on with Fulton County? What's the problem between Rod Pitts and our new commissioner, Kanisha Abdul Rahman? What's the problem? What's really going on? This is the first time in the history of Fulton County in 30 years that they have not allowed a district commissioner to appoint who they want to appoint to a position. But you'll hear more about that. You'll hear about the school board meeting that's coming up on the 18th at 6 p.m. at the library on Flagshore. You do need to come. They're talking about closing schools on outside of town. We don't need for them to close schools in South Fulton. So listen, get engaged, find out what's going on under the Demon Dome with all these bad bills. We found out today that there was 17 more bad bills, not other than the 9 bad bills. But I'm going to bring on my special guest today. I'm going to bring on the pastor of the St. John AME Church. His name is Pastor Charles Ramsey, and Charles is going to come on now, and I'm going to bring you on in. Hey, Charles, how you doing, man, today?
How you doing, Bishop Fann? And Pastor Shannon. It's good to see both of you.
Well, Shannon ain't got here yet. You can't see.
I'm just saying it. Just he on the way.
I'm gonna do like Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel said, "You're not in the studio. You're here, but you ain't here with me." Shannon ain't with me yet. He'll be running in here shortly. But we're glad to have you today, though. Really, we really are. You know, we talked this morning earlier, and we met with State Representative Medisha Thomas, who talked about those voting suppression bills, those bad bills. We knew about 9 of them, but she told us about 17 more of them.
17 more of them. We didn't even know about them.
We didn't know. But we got to get our elected officials to keep us engaged and involved and know what's going on. And we, as the clergy of the community, we have to sound the alarm and let the people know what's really, really going on. Now, you a week or so ago, you had a very informative Zoom call with people in the health profession. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, let me start off this way, Bishop Fran. Starting this year in January, I preached a sermon series entitled "Living in a New Norm," and one of my points in one of the sermons was dealing with partnerships, about how God is aligning people up to help you to get information out and to get your plan or your anything out there that God has placed in your heart. And so I was thinking in the month of January, I said, I need to do something about this vaccine. Everybody's been talking about it. A lot of us are scared to take it. We don't really know about the difference between the Pfizer and the new Johnson & Johnson, all this information. And we as a people have been saying, we're not going to take it. So I received a phone call from Mrs. Jackie Bodhu, who is a nurse practitioner for GI in Newnan, Georgia. She called me and said, Pastor, I've been praying and been thinking, I would like to help put together a panel talking about the vaccine. I said, guess what? You have just answered my prayers, because I've been thinking about the same thing. She said, okay, let's go ahead and work together. And so on last Wednesday, herself, along with Dr. Joni Ricks Odie, who works at the University of California, and Dr. Makila Cook Costello from Meharry Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee, They came together. We did a Facebook Live and a Zoom conference talking about the vaccine. We talked about everything you need to know about the vaccine and what you need to know about the coronavirus. It was important for us to do it because we needed to educate our congregation and the community that we serve, why the vaccine is so important. We realize that so many African Americans are suffering. So many African Americans are dying because of this disease. Do you realize, Bishop, that 27 million people have been affected by this virus? 468,000 people have died plus have died. In Georgia itself, in Georgia, it has been 15,000 plus deaths in Georgia because of the virus. 943,000 people have been affected. It has been about 51,000 people plus that have been hospitalized because of this virus. Now, let me bring it home because I think we need to bring it home in Fulton County. It's over 3,000 hospital people that have been hospitalized. It has been over 1,000 deaths, and it has been over 80,000 people that have been affected by this disease. The disease is serious. It is definitely serious. And so we are happy to have on this evening a piece of a piece of the presentation from Mrs. Jackie Budhu,
All right.
and
So you,
she's going to talk about talk about the virus and talk about it a little bit more.
all right. We're going to bring on right now. Pastor, how about that?
I'm going to talk a little bit about, are you able to hear me? Is everybody able to hear me? I just want to make sure. Okay. I wanted to talk a little bit about how vaccines work, because that's kind of the reason why we're here, is to try to understand that a little bit better. I just want to take a step back before we talk about how vaccines work. Vaccines work based on our immune system, and our immune system is a God-given, God-created system that is always fighting, always getting rid of intruders, such as cancer, and as well as diseases. So you don't even know it. God has built a fighting machine in your body all the time. And the way that the immune system works is that once an intruder comes in, it remembers that intruder's information and then builds an army of antibodies that attack that intruder. So the next time it comes in, you have a whole army of antibodies that can recognize it immediately and then eliminate the threat. And vaccines very much so use this system. And all vaccines have the same goal. They basically build up the immune system and help it recognize a bacteria and a virus before you actually get that bacteria and a virus, almost like a drill or a training session for military people. They get the information, the intelligence, and then they train to fight against that enemy, so that when the real enemy comes, they're ready and they have the army to fight against it. And basically, a vaccine stimulates the immune system and produce antibodies exactly like it would if you were exposed to the virus. So it's a great advantage. After getting vaccinated, the body develops immunity to the bacteria or virus without having to get the disease first. So some people may say, well, why don't I just go ahead and get COVID-19, then I'll build up the immune system naturally. The problem is that naturally, if you were to get the real virus of COVID-19, it takes about 4 to 5 days for you to build up enough antibodies or enough army of antibodies to help recognize this intruder and kill it. And so in that time, you can imagine the COVID-19 virus is replicating and multiplying and taking over and causing damage to your brain, your lungs, the other parts of your body. And that's too much time to allow it to create damage. And so the benefit of a vaccine is that when you get the vaccine, it prepares your body, your immune system, to produce this antibody army to then be ready when the real virus comes. It takes maybe a day or less than a day, and it attacks immediately, and you have this ready army to neutralize the threat. And the idea is that the vaccines prevent the viruses from replicating. So if we can prevent them from multiplying and replicating, we can prevent severe disease, we can prevent death, some of the things that Makila was talking about. And we can also, we don't know yet if it prevents spread, but the idea is the lower the number of virus levels, hopefully you won't be as infectious to other people, but those studies are still waiting to be done. Next slide. So here's the big question. Everybody is concerned about this coronavirus vaccine because people feel like, well, I don't want to take something that was just rushed. And the truth of the matter is this is not a rushed process. In fact, when the news of this virus in China back in December was coming out, scientists were already formulating a vaccine in January because they knew the virus's potential to spread and cause a worldwide pandemic. So already scientists were making a vaccine back in January. And as was mentioned before, Dr. Rick Odie had mentioned that coronaviruses are not new. We know how they are genetically made. We know how they react and how they spread and how they behave. So this is not a new situation to scientists. And then finally, a couple of things. Congress prioritized vaccine funding, which allowed research to be done quicker. It's important to realize that research doesn't just happen like that. Research actually takes a lot of manpower. It takes a lot of money to do it. Some research projects are millions and billions of dollars. And so getting that much capital in earlier helps to prioritize the vaccine to be made. And by Congress helping to give that money up front, it helped a lot of these pharmaceutical companies to focus and prioritize. So things that would sit on somebody's desk for months is now all of a sudden at the forefront, and all of our resources is being pushed to try to get this vaccine out because of the urgency. The other thing to recognize is that in the United States, we have a Food and Drug Administration, which is called the FDA. And this administration is the one that reviews research data and determines whether or not something is safe enough to go ahead and to use on the public. And the FDA required pharmaceutical companies to provide 8 weeks of safety data before approval. So in fact, there were other countries that approved the vaccines that we have in the United States way before the United States approved it. Why? Because the FDA said, no, we want to wait and give 8 weeks, 2 months, 2 solid months to see people who got the vaccine, what was the effect on them and what was the safety data. So that was something that was built in. And then finally, I just want to give a shout out to Dr. Kizmika Corbett. That's her beautiful picture of this beautiful, lovely lady who's smiling on this page. She actually is an African-American microbiologist and immunologist who developed and helped patent the technology that is being used now in these vaccines that are being administered today in both of these pharmaceutical companies. And so it is a real awesome thing, and it is Black History Month. So just remember that name, that she's really, really amazing. And I'm so grateful for her knowledge to help fight this pandemic. And go to the next slide. Now, there's many vaccines out there, but the two that we're going to talk about just briefly today that are approved in the United States are Moderna and Pfizer. And so before I talk about the difference between the two, I just want to mention that both of the similarities, both of them are vaccines that have to be taken with 2 doses. So you get 1 dose and then you get a second booster dose. And both of them do not prevent you from getting infected with COVID-19. It's important to understand that the vaccine's job doesn't prevent you from getting infected from COVID-19, but it is preventative in getting you, it does prevent you from developing symptoms or severe disease. So it prevents you from being hospitalized and death as well. So you basically become like somebody who doesn't have symptoms but has COVID-19. So Pfizer, the difference between the two, Pfizer is the one that requires ultra cold storage in a deep freezer. As you see, it's minus 94 degrees Fahrenheit. And so it has very specific freezers that it needs to be stored in. And it was tested in ages 16 and up. The Moderna vaccine can be stored in a regular freezer, minus 4 degrees, and was tested in ages 18 and up. But it is, both vaccines are very effective, about 95% effective at preventing severe symptoms and disease. Next slide. So now people are also concerned about the side effects, and it's important to discuss them because there are some side effects with the vaccines, but they are expected, they are normal, and they're easily manageable. So some of the things that you may experience if you get the vaccine is pain and swelling at the injection site. You may get some fevers and chills, headaches, and tiredness. So people may think, oh my gosh, that's a bad thing. That's actually not a bad thing. That actually demonstrates that the vaccine is working. I want you to remember that we are trying to stimulate the immune system. We are trying to build antibodies and an army to fight this coronavirus should you ever get infected. And so if you recall, when you get sick, what happens? You get a fever, you get a little tired, you get cold, you get body aches. Why? Because your body is making antibodies against that disease and fighting it. In this way, we're mimicking the disease by giving an injection and causing this immune system response to happen. Typically, the first dose is not where you have these symptoms. It's usually the second dose, which is the booster dose. After you receive the second dose is when you may get these symptoms. They usually last anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. What I do recommend is if you start feeling these symptoms, you can go ahead and take some over-the-counter Tylenol, or if you're able to, ibuprofen, as well as, if you need to, some Benadryl, and usually things get better. Finally, it's important when you do get the vaccine, we don't just go ahead and give you the vaccine and send you off. We do make you stay for 15 minutes where the medical providers can observe you to make sure there's no allergic reaction to the vaccine. Just like any medicine, any vaccine, anybody can have an allergic reaction. So, I just want to remind people, things that we take every day can have pretty serious side effects, such as Tylenol. Tylenol is easy. We pop it like candy. We don't even think about it, but it can, in very rare few cases, can cause Stevens-Johnson's a very severe reaction. But again, that's very, very rare. And so that shouldn't deter you from taking the Tylenol and shouldn't deter you from taking the vaccine. And we're always thinking about risk versus benefits, and the benefit of taking the vaccine outweighs the risk of basically going into and being hospitalized on a ventilator and potentially dying from this COVID-19. Next slide. Okay, so who can get the vaccine? This is a great question. I just, since we're, most of our audience is from Georgia, I pulled up this slide from the Georgia Department of Health, and there are the three main phases. Phase 1A is healthcare workers and people who are like nurses, your doctors, lab technicians, environmental services, people who are also in long-term care facilities such as nursing homes, and as well as residents who live in nursing residence. And then adults age 65 and their caregivers, as well as for first line essential workers such as law enforcement, fire personnel, volunteer departments, and 911 operators. So that's where we are right now in Georgia. And then phase 1B would be the next phase, where we have the other non-healthcare essential workers who perform critical jobs and critical public health safety. So this is like your bus drivers, those types of people, and national security. And then finally, 1C is for people who are 16 to 64 years old who have pre-existing conditions that Dr. Cook Castillo mentioned, such as diabetes, hypertension, obesity. And so those are the first, that's kind of the priority of people here in Georgia. And now different states may be in different phases. So every state has where it is. So some states may be in the 1B phase. Some states are actually opening up in the 1C. In fact, Texas, I heard from one of my patients today, is in the 1C phase right now, where they have people with comorbid conditions that are going and getting vaccinated. But the bottom line is get the vaccine when you can. Some special considerations. Today, I listened to the coronavirus task force meeting with Dr. Fauci, and he did talk about now, that 20,000 pregnant women have gotten the vaccination. Definitely that's something to discuss with your doctor if you're pregnant, to see if you would want to take the risk of taking the vaccine. And then, of course, children are not getting the vaccine yet because they're starting some studies on children. So that will happen a lot quicker because you don't need such a large sample size. You just need a smaller sample size of children to just make sure that they are safe. And secondly, that they also develop the same amount of immune system response to protect them from the vaccine. Next slide. Sorry, next slide.
Hey, Pastor Ramsey?
I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you so very much. This technology is something else, man. But you look who's with me, man. Look who's with me.
What's up, Pastor? How you doing?
How you doing, Brother Shannon?
The dog ate my homework.
I'm gonna let Bishop Fann deal with it.
I appreciate you so very much. We want to talk a little bit about, the skepticism that we have in our community in terms of the virus, in terms of the vaccine. This virus is killing people, it's hospitalizing people, and you talked about it in your sermon, a new norm. What is this norm that we're dealing with? Mm-hmm. And a part of this norm is being vaccinated and receiving this vaccine to help prevent further illnesses because of this virus. Just like for the flu vaccine, the pneumonia vaccine, the shingle vaccine. Those are vaccines that were given to prevent us from getting those diseases. So, what are you, Pastor, after hearing the presentation 2 or 3 times now, and what do you sense in terms of the individuals that's hearing this and getting this information and being educated? What are you feeling?
I think Bishop Fann, we have had over 400 views on this presentation, and it's probably more
because of that.
We have had persons from different places across the country have called me and said, "Hey, I learned a lot. It was a lot of information that I did not know." Our congregation learned more stuff. It was very informative, and it broke a lot of the myths that we people had.
So your experience has been is that people really appreciated it. Do you see more people willing now to take the vaccine than before? I've already had it. I've had the Moderna, and I have my 2nd shot scheduled. So, and I'm encouraging people to take the shot. So, what do you feel?
I think, Bishop, more people want to take the shot, but the problem is, when can we take it? When can we take it? Getting it is the distribution of the shot. And like we were talking earlier, especially on the south side of town, making sure highly affected people get it.
Well, I would say share this with you, and I'm gonna let Shannon. Of course, Shannon is here, and though he is the late Shannon Jones, he is here. I'm gonna let Shannon. He has a couple questions he wants to ask you, and I'm gonna jump off for a minute and catch Pastor Callaway. How about that?
So let me ask you this, Rev. Why did you decide to do this? Was there a great number of your parishioners that were asking you? Is it something that happened denominationally, or how did you decide to put on this great Zoom?
I think it was. I think it had to do with a lot of people not understanding it, even though it was on the news about the vaccine. We see it on TV every hour. It's a lot of people that did not understand. And so as being a pastor, I felt it was my job to try to educate not just my but the community surrounding, to make sure people understood why we needed and the whole total makeup of vaccine.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things is that I think that the black preacher, and I'm going to say black preacher, we've always led in terms of getting information out to the community, and many people expect us as the clergy to be able to get them information, to inform them about what's going on in the community. And before you came, Shannon, I just we kind of talked about this morning call with Representative Mandeja Thomas in terms of what's going on around voter suppression. And see, many of our people don't know these things, and it's our job as the town crier, should I say, the Paul Revere, the watchman, what of the night, is our job to tell people what's going on in the city. And what's going on in their community, what's going on in their world. Because many people, most folks, as you know, both of us, all three of us are pastors, that many of our members, they go to work, they come home, they take care of their families, but they don't be engaged in what's going on politically. They don't be engaged in what's going on in the community. They just, something happened, then everybody want to know. Because all we hear about is gun violence, shooting and killing and this kind of stuff. But this kind of information is what we need to be getting out to the community. And thank you so much, Pastor, Ramsey, for taking the lead and doing this for the Falmouth community and making sure that the people in Falmouth and the surrounding areas got this kind of valuable information so they would know that they need to get the vaccine. They need to get vaccine. Now what we have to do is to get with our governor, present governor, to make sure that once the vaccine comes,
that they can get to us.
That they can get to us.
60% of those who have received the vaccine are Caucasian. Only 5.4% of African Americans have received it. Yet, when they were talking about the need for the vaccine and the rollout, our community was disproportionately affected by this. So this is fastly and vastly becoming a civil rights issue and a human rights issue in terms of who can, because at one point we're saying, well, it's not here. It's not here, or that there's a rollout problem, there's a logistical problem. But it wasn't a logistical problem for 60% of those who received it being Caucasian. So why is it a logistical problem? Why are folks looking to Canton, Georgia, and to all of these Willacoochee, Georgia, to go and get it when you live in Fulton County, in Clayton County, in DeKalb County? And these should be the areas that are targeted first and foremost in the metro area, because that's where the largest cases are in terms of the effects of COVID, and by and large, that's it within our community. It disproportionately affects us more.
Let me just say this, kind of going back to your original question. I'm coming back to it again, and the reason why we needed to do it is because more likely most African Americans have underlying health conditions, obesities, diabetes, high blood pressure. We are more likely to have weakened immune systems due to illness like cancer. We are more likely to be affected because of poverty, lack of health insurance, and a lack of health care. That's why we needed to do this.
Well, we thank you so much for doing it
Absolutely.
again, Pastor. And keep up doing the great work down there in Fab and in the Epic Center. God bless you.
In the Epic Center.
Bless you, man.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Reverend Ramsey.
Thank you,
appreciate
Bishop
you.
Fann. Thank you, Pastor Shannon Jones, my classmate from the ITC.
Always, brother. I just thank you that your paper was always next to mine. It always made my paper and my test scores look so much better.
And look at that's why that's why he said the dog ate his food. The dog ate his, and the reason he was late because the dog
Never would have made it without you, brother. Never would have made it.
Never would have made it.
God bless you, man.
All right, brothers. Y'all have a good day.
All right,
Bless you, man.
all right. That's a good brother right there.
Excellent,
Pastor Charles
brother.
Ramsey is
Excellent,
a
man.
great brother.
And what you see is what you get with him.
Yeah, it is. He's just
Yeah.
a real
So
brother,
he is.
real concerned, committed, down for the cause, for the people.
Yeah.
And we thank him so much. And we ought to get ready to get out of here, Shannon. Great program today. Thank you for being late as usual.
Well, dude, wait a minute. I'm late because I can give the traffic report about what's happening. That's why I was.
But I did tell him.
I'm Crash Clark.
I did tell
you.
him that you possibly caught up in the
There's a lot of
traffic.
traffic out there. I can tell you. You want to stay off of the east-west connector, and you don't want to be going southbound on 85. That's all I want to say.
Okay, all right. And if you say it, I'll go along with it because you said it. Well, listen, brothers and sisters, muchacho. You know what I'm saying? Rita, thank you so much again for joining us right here on Straight Talk. And don't forget to share it with your Facebook family and friend and your YouTube family. Check us out. That's Straight Talk with Joe to the Great Man, the Preacher Man, and Shannon E. Jones. And it ain't nothing but what?
Straight Talk.